Joel Klatt is with us, Fox Sports college football analyst. He called the Big Ten championship game between Michigan State and Iowa. Good to have you in studio.
Yeah,
You're looking good here.
It's good to be here. This is phenomenal.
What are you in New York for?
The Hall of Fame banquet tonight.
Oh,
so the new class of college football Hall of Fame members going in: Bill Snyder, Brian Bosworth, a lot of different people. So always here for that this time of year, and it's one of the best weekends because everybody's here. Every coach, every athletic director. It's a lot of fun.
Who's the best player you played against when you were at Colorado?
Vince Young. I mean, this guy. And I even we played against Adrian Peterson as well, his true freshman year, which was his best year at Oklahoma. Yeah. But Vince Young was amazing. We had to play him twice in one season, and it was their national championship season. I'd never seen anybody quite like Vince Young because it was almost like he was just toying with everybody until he wanted to assert himself and win the game, and then he did so in incredible fashion.
But what happened in the pros?
Oh, man. The NFL is so egotistical when it comes to quarterbacks, and the skill set that they could be successful with, and the offense that they could be successful with, and as a quarterback, these guys are just jammed into a corner, and they said you have to run our style, and I feel like if the NFL would get away from that and get away from this ego that their way is the best way or the highway, then there would be many more quarterbacks that would be successful from the college ranks to the NFL.
I was talking about Cam Newton and Tom Brady. Both are polarizing, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, Brady can be polarizing, I think. Deflategate, playing for the Patriots, the secrecy, everything that goes along with that. But Cam Newton, this is baggage that's left over from Auburn, I think, with people.
And here's the thing, and being in the college space, this is one of the things that I love so much about college football is the close nature and that the fans have to the players and to the schools. It's just a part of the fabric of their lives, right? Because they all went to those schools. And so when you've got a guy like Cam, who was a polarizing subject, had trouble at Florida, had to leave, went to junior college, then you've got the pay for play issue, and that's going to stay with you forever, in particular because it was in the SEC, and those fans just never forget. And I think one of the reasons why it's followed him is because he still plays in that footprint. And so those are the fans that are now watching him in the NFL and the NFC South. And I think that's one of the reasons why he hasn't burst on this. If he was in a different city, let's say San Diego or the NFC North or something along those lines, I don't think it would be as drastic. But because he's still in that footprint, that follows him from those college days.
But why is it charming when Aaron Rodgers does the discount double check?
Sure.
But it's annoying. Or J.J. Watt can do what he does. And it still seems like there's race or perception or profiling when it comes to quarterback.
There's no doubt. I think RG3 went through the same thing. You know, his bravado was seen as negative, when as others that have the same or similar bravado in the offseason and a belief in themselves, it's seen as confidence, you know, and moxie. You hear that term thrown around. I think you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that has, at least in the sport I cover, it doesn't enter that equation as much, the race issue at the quarterback position, because there's so many different styles of offense. There's so many different styles of quarterbacks that are successful. There's no one maker model that everyone thinks is the best maker model or the most attractive maker model. And in the NFL, you still battle that. I'm frustrated for Cam because this guy, I mean, he literally ran down a football to give to a fan. It's like, and we want to vilify him for it. It's just, it seems like the NFL is so backwards right now. We're fining people for having their dad's name on the eye black and vilifying them for giving a ball to a fan in the stands. And we don't know how to handle disciplinary issues when it comes to domestic disputes. It's just, it's totally backwards in the NFL right now.
Also, I mentioned this with the Heisman Trophy ceremony coming up this weekend. Why not just make it universal? 5 candidates get to go. Celebrate what Keenan Reynolds did at Navy,
Absolutely.
Or Baker Mayfield,
Absolutely.
or Leonard Fournette, or Dalvin Cook, or Ezekiel. It's better for college football to have more stories to tell that are good stories.
You know I love college football, right? I mean,
hope.
It's in my blood. I just love the sport. The adults in college football cannot get out of their own way. It's just ridiculous. I will say this about the Heisman. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it should be 6. That's the number of. I think that the top 6 vote getters, regardless of where the gap falls in the percentage of votes. See, that's what they always are. They get the votes in, and then they say, okay, where's the biggest gap? And then here are our finalists, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I just think that if you're good enough to be a top 6 vote getter in the Heisman Trophy, that you should be celebrated in New York. Listen, we take advantage of student athletes enough. Why not give them this platform? For a lot of them, Dan, this is going to be the pinnacle of their success, in particular their brand, their name equity. Why not allow them to celebrate that and set themselves up for a life after football in terms of a Heisman Trophy finalist trip? And I think it would have been great for our country, in particular right now, to see Keenan Reynolds in a Navy uniform sitting there. Come on. What's better than that? Flying in. He was going to come in a helicopter. That would have been great for college football. Would have been great for our country, and I think they missed the boat on it.
All right. Can you come back one more segment?
You bet.
Because I have an idea for the 14 playoff.
I can't wait.
And I want to know if you think it's brilliant or just stupid.
This is fantastic.
All right.
I love that I'm going to be the judge of this. I can't wait.
You're sort of the Simon Cowell of this.
Do I need to go get a ridiculously low V?
And a
V-neck?
And a bad hairdo.
And a really bad crew cut?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, bad moss. All right, we'll come back with Joel Klatt from Fox Sports. We'll do that next. Dan Patrick Show. Joel Klatt from Fox Sports, kind enough to stay with us. He called Michigan State, Iowa, Big Ten championship game.
But sorry to interrupt, but that game was amazing. Did you feel like it was?
Just the drive with the tension attached to it, knowing that you're going to have the opportunity to be in the Final Four?
Yes.
And it felt like a staring contest between these two. Who's going to blink first? And, Michigan State, it seemed like, 9-minute drive? A little less than that?
It was a 22-play, 9-minute drive. It was the longest drive, at least plays-wise, in the FBS all season long.
Yeah.
And it became pretty apparent. They got the ball in 9 minutes. I remember saying to myself, and on the broadcast, I said, they're probably going to get one more chance at this. So this and one more drive. So a field goal is still an option at this point. And they didn't even cross the 50 until it was like 4 minutes and 40 seconds. I was like, this is it. And to have that recollection, or excuse me, that knowledge, they knew it. Iowa knew it. Everyone knew it. This was it. This drive was for all the marbles. That was an amazing drive.
Did you take anything away from Connor Cook with the trophy ceremony with Archie Griffin? Because I had people saying, "Why aren't you talking about it?" I said, "Well, I watched it, and I don't know if he knew it was Archie Griffin or not. But I don't care if it wasn't him. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't act that way." He did apologize to Archie Griffin. What did you take away from that ceremony?
And you've been up on those stages, so you know that it's mayhem and chaos, and it's hard to even hear or know who's around you. And I had the producer talking in my ear, so it was hard for me to understand what was going on. It was hard to locate Archie in the first place. So finally I get Archie up there, and they had been very clear to me, which I thought was weird, like, Archie does not talk. And I was like, okay, so do you ever get those instructions?
I get a lot of instructions in my ear when you're at the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like Joe Namath was bringing the trophy up, and they're in my ear saying, when Joe gets there, just take the trophy.
Right.
So there's 100 million people watching, and they're telling me as Joe Namath brings up the Super Bowl trophy, when he gets there, just take the trophy and give it to the commissioner. So all of these things are happening in your head, in your ear.
So for me, it's a much lower stage. 100 million, 6 million.
It's all right.
It's all relative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you know exactly what this situation is like. Connor was kind of at the back of the stage, and you can tell that he's just celebrating with some teammates. And when Mark walked on the stage, D'Antonio, he was like, "Hey, who's it going to be?" And I looked at him and I said, "Connor." And he kind of looked at me perplexed, because Connor didn't play great in the game. It wasn't a quarterback-driven game by any measure. And so he kind of looked surprised, but he was like, "Yeah, whatever, that's fine." And so when I announced Connor's name, he didn't know it. No one knew it. And I'm kind of looking at him from across the stage, and Archie is kind of between us. And you can tell that he was almost shocked and almost embarrassed, because he knew how he had played. He knew that his shoulder was struggling. And so when he walked over, he wasn't walking over with an air of cockiness or bravado. It was almost embarrassed that I had called his name, because he knew that he wasn't the best player on the field that day. And so when he grabbed the trophy, it was almost with that type of mentality. And if you watch it with that type of view or lens, then you can get it. Now, when it actually happened, I was startled a little bit because I thought to myself, this is Archie Griffin, the two-time Heisman Trophy winner. And so I asked him some questions, and his answers were actually deflecting the praise as well as anyone does in those moments and talking about his offensive line. But
it was weird body language, though.
It was very strange and awkward, and my producer even at one point was like, oh. And in my ear, I'm like, so I'm trying not to react to that and be like, I'm trying to remain as stoic as I possibly can. But, yeah, it was an awkward deal.
All right, here we go. Here's my idea. Now, let's say you have the number one team. Clemson is the number one team.
Yep.
Clemson gets to pick who Clemson wants to play, and then the other two teams play. What do you think about that for the 4-team playoff?
I've never thought of that. I actually think that is, what is this, brilliant or
stupid?
I think it's brilliant. And here's why. Is because we need to reward teams for earning those top 2 seeds. We don't do that right now. We say, oh, you can play in your region. Listen, everyone travels now. Oklahoma's going to take a large contingent down to the Orange Bowl. They've been to the Orange Bowl maybe more than any other team. I'm not sure over the course of the years. But a neutral site game doesn't reward the top seeds. It didn't reward Alabama last year, having to play Ohio State and New Orleans. So I absolutely believe that if you earn the top seed, if you are the best college football team, you're not only making the regular season matter more, which is already the best regular season in sports, but you're giving that top seed an opportunity to pick their matchup, which then gives a lot of bulletin board material. There's a lot that goes into that. I think that's actually brilliant. I'm going to totally steal that.
You can take it.
I'm going to steal that for sure.
Absolutely. Nobody's listening right now.
I like that a lot.
But I think eventually we'll get to 8. But let me
ask you, who do you think Clemson would choose?
That I don't. I think they would take Michigan State.
I think they would take Michigan State as well.
But can you honestly tell me that the committee didn't factor in that Oklahoma could have been playing in Dallas and they moved Michigan State above? Michigan State is not better than Oklahoma.
No.
Not right now.
No.
Not with Cook the way he is. I think they did that because they didn't want to give Oklahoma an advantage to be in Dallas.
One of two things happened. Both of them are a negative thing, a negative viewpoint on the committee. They either were a complete prisoner of the moment, and saw the game and reward Michigan State for that, which they shouldn't. It should be body of work. Or they did exactly what we all think they did, and they didn't allow Oklahoma to play in Dallas, and they wanted to avoid the Oklahoma-Alabama matchup in the semifinal, which I absolutely think is true. I wish that they didn't trot Jeff Long out there. He's a good man.
Can't
he really
do this
is.
on a weekly basis.
You can't do it on a weekly basis.
Can't do it.
Because his interviews, guys, it's like being in Vegas and watching a magic show. It's like, well, over here and over here with the criteria. It's like, well, let's all play blindfolded darts. If we're just going to play with the criteria with wherever we want to put it to justify a ranking of a certain team.
Who plays in the title game?
I think Alabama and Oklahoma play in the title game. I think the Michigan State-Alabama game is going to be a phenomenal game. Michigan State is a team that held, and I know, we don't want to talk X's and O's here, but the top 3 rushing teams in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Indiana, and Iowa. Michigan State held every one of those teams under 90 yards rushing. So I can't wait to watch this, like, strength versus strength. Derrick Henry trying to run the ball against that defense. And I think Oklahoma's running game with Samaje Perine is going to eventually beat Clemson.
All right, I want to have you, since you're a former quarterback, I want you to go real quickly, just assess we got a minute here for the cadence here. Line of scrimmage, audibles. Paulie, I'll start with you. What do you think of Paulie's call at the line of scrimmage?
Green 18. Green 18, hot.
That's pretty good. McLevin, go ahead.
McLevin?
Easy. Oklahoma, 14, green set, hut on 2.
He's got the ring of confidence.
Okay,
he went to Dartmouth, by the way.
Yeah, that was interesting. Fritzy?
42, Omaha, ready, hurry.
Boy, there's just a lot going on with that. There was a lot of commands. I don't know if everyone could.
Seton?
The channel, Andrew Luck here.
Ready!
They jumped. Boom.
Yeah, I got him.
Seton.
Well done.
Seton. Really well done.
He's Joe Klatt, Fox Sports College analyst here, and great to have you in.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for everything all season long.
You bet.